Okay. And action. Hello, friends, enemies, kind mothers. Welcome to Wake Up and Think Clearly. So we have Dara in the house, and we have Srinivas Pondicherry in the house. Srinivas Pondicherry. Oh, and we have Rami in the house. Welcome, Rami. Welcome, Srinivas
Good morning.
Pondicherry.
Good morning, Jero.
Good morning. Oh, is that Srinivas who said good morning?
Yes.
Oh, are you in the U.S.?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't know where you were located. I'm in Florida, US.
I'm in Florida.
Oh, hi.
I'm in Winter Park, Florida, Orlando.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know where Dara is. I think that's Rami, the one with Arabic letters. So welcome, friends, enemies, kind mothers.
Thank you.
Oh, Dara, you're welcome. Finally, we're going. What's the day? March 18th?
Saturday, March 19th.
What? March 19th? 2022?
Yes, 2022.
And it's 7:13 a.m. in Florida. And it's maybe it's 12 or 1 p.m. in London. In case someone from London wants to join.
I did invite him and he said he may join us.
Oh.
Just want to tell you guys, I have a really poor connection with where I am in Florida. I'm really someplace remote, so I don't know if this is going to eat all my data by being on a Zoom. So I'm a little bit afraid of being on a Zoom. So
for sure, turn off your video.
Turn off my video. I don't know
if
how
it's
to
not
do
already
that.
off, because all we're seeing is a black screen from you. But there may be a way to. You can actually dial in. Actually, can't you, Hiro? Isn't there a dial-in number? I've got to go attend to my wife. I'll be back.
There is a way to dial in. Let's see. I have
Okay.
I have it on my phone. Maybe I could I could
text it to me.
I could text it to you maybe. Yes, I could do that.
Sure.
Let's see. Let's see. Is it wait? Yes, I have the phone number. It's +1 646 558 865.
Wait a minute. 646.
Yes, 558 8656. And then
558 8656. Okay.
And then you're prompted to eventually type in what the Zoom ID is, and the Zoom ID is 407 486 8642.
My wife says hello.
That's 407 486 8642, and then you hit pound, and then that way you dial in.
Okay, let me try that. That way we won't eat up all the Zoom. Thank you.
Oh, that's a nice picture.
Oh, you can leave your picture up. Oh, gee darn. Let's see. Meeting at, oh
Guess
yes.
I'll have to add that to the event description.
Oh yes.
So
The
is it Mr. Pondicherry or Dr. Pondicherry?
I just Srinivas Pondicherry. I'm in IT, information technology.
Oh, well, so are Hyro and I. Those are our backgrounds as well.
hmm.
I started in kindergarten, finished at UCF. I don't know when Hyro started, but he finished at, was it something international? What was the name of the school that you attended, Hyro?
Oh, I got
Still
an
attended?
online degree at American Intercontinental University. Ooh.
Yes. AIU. I love it when it's all vowels.
Oh,
And then let's see. My last corporate gig was doing software maintenance and
Dara.
Join the meeting.
there we are.
oh,
Anyhow,
did you join? Oh,
Dara, are you there?
I
Oh, well,
admitted.
here we are.
I admitted
Yay!
her.
No more data chewing up.
There you go. Thank you.
Welcome,
This
Dara.
is really good because I've got friends in Africa who would love to join, but they too are on data plans with only so much in there. And in what's that place? Greece. Another friend of Greece who I'd love to invite, but they don't want to attend because it
Hmm.
would affect their data plans, which is a reminder of a concept, which is rent. And some people in some places can have unlimited internet for a very low cost, and other people, they have to pay a lot of money for only a little bit of data. And what sets the terms of these conditions?
Well, what I think is that that various providers and coordinate with the governments to know that they don't want people who are remote to have access to greater connection and more ideas. So they want to keep people pocketed in their narrow ideas, so they can't allow them to communicate or to investigate new ideas.
Okay, well, we'll call that theory number one.
Access information that people say in cities have. They know that people in cities already have access to broad information, but the people who are in more remote or countrified places, that they want them to remain in their own mindsets without influence of
Okay,
broader
I'm going to introduce a theory number two, and then broaden the discussion a little bit. Theory number two is it costs money to install those towers in the more remote areas of the world, and the people who are going to use them are going to pay for them. So that would be theory number two, but then let me broaden the concept beyond the electromagnetic spectrum and all the infrastructure necessary to support high-speed communication throughout the globe, to the concept of not just the electromagnetic spectrum, but and communications technology, but let's say all of nature and physicality in and of itself. So the land, the air, the water, outer space. And I think I hear my wife calling me again. I'll be back.
Oh, Srinivas Pondicherry. That sounds like an Indian name.
Yeah.
From the Indian subcontinent.
That's right.
Originally.
How do I say your name,
Hmm?
Jay?
What?
How do I say your name?
Hmm. You can say gyro, Hyro, Hyro from Cairo, or hieroglyphics, or Hyro sub sandwich.
Jada.
Gyro? Sandwich?
Jada
Hyro.
sounds good.
High road to China. Yes.
Mhm.
So, do you know how to speak a language from India?
Yes, I can speak Telugu and Hindi.
Telugu and Hindi.
Uh-huh.
And can you write Hindi?
It's been 30 years now, but I can write.
Oh, is it similar to Sanskrit writing?
Looks like that because of the strokes. Yes, Hindi looks similar, but not exactly, but to a certain extent. Telugu is very different from Sanskrit writing.
Oh, where is Telugu spoken? What part of India? Oh, the internet connection. Am I losing my internet connection? No.
Trouble hearing you.
Oh, I lost my internet connection. Let's see. I'm back. Sorry, I kind of lost my internet for a second. Okay, I'm back. Yes. Today we're going to learn Sanskrit.
There you go. Yeah.
Let's
Proof of
see.
Sanskrit.
Oh, the alphabet, the consonants. They have them arranged by, I guess, different ways of forming sounds, the rows and columns. What would you call it? The whether it's aspirated or unaspirated or other things or tones. And then the vowels and the sibilants. Yeah, it's because I learned. Oh,
Welcome back, Hiro.
oh,
So I was just saying that we would when I was in high school, Hiro, in our engineering course, wonderful high school, wonderful high school, brand new. We had a lab full of Windows 4 groups computers. And during our time where we weren't working on projects, some of us would be playing various games, sometimes networked together in the lab. One of them being just simply, what's that game where you shoot the moon? Oh, it's a network card game. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's something you can do. Anyway, the is it queens or spades? Maybe I think is what's called. Anyway, if anyone ever thought that someone was going to shoot the moon, which means that they would be the immediate winner in that 4-player game, we also had a chat app, and when you would launch chat, and none of these computers had sound cards, but they had a piece of software that would enable the Pino 386 to use the CPU to generate sound through the PC speaker. There's a neat little Windows 3.1 driver at the time. And now the trouble with doing that is it would take up a bunch of CPU cycle space. And these computers all came with a chat app where you could initiate a chat with another computer with that station. And that the way the notification would work is that there'd be a little animated phone on the desktop, and it would make a ringing sound, which was problematic because it meant that if any of us thought that someone's going to shoot the moon, the kids, the high schoolers there, we had all figured out that, well, you could just start launching a denial of service attack on that person by launching chat requests, which would kick off that workstation's launching of the tying up the CPU to produce the ringing sound. And not only would the 3 other members in the game start initiating chat requests, but everyone in the lab and all the computers almost would start launching and producing that distributed denial of service attack on that particular individual. And then later, maybe 10 years later, when I worked at what was the largest business dedicated to small and medium-sized businesses for their websites, we would have to battle distributed denial of service attacks all the time. So sometimes it just costs money to deal with those who don't want certain things to happen and are willing to tie up networks and tie up processor cycles to whichever and whatever, and that's done. And of course, there are ways to block domains. Egypt during the Arab Rising, another 10 years later, just turned off DNS services for their country. So if you didn't know www.meetup.com, for instance, you would have to know their IP address to then be able to get to the site. And there are other means too. So yeah. Anyway, Klaus Schwab in the last year, in their something Polygon talk, was stating that, sorry, I'm making coffee for my wife here, was stating that that there would be huge attacks on our internet and electrical infrastructure, and that's just something we're going to have to expect. So take that for however you like to take it, but there are people who don't even exist on Facebook anymore for whatever personal reasons, but who are very much on that side, trying to keep the whole thing running so that we can have conversations like this right now. And I say to those who are doing that, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Amazing. The internet. Yes.
Series of tubes and while loops.
But what about the people in Africa that you would invite? It would, if they have a data plan but can't call, or can they call, and would it be cheaper for them to call, or would it be a long distance phone, a long distance call, and would they get charged?
Right. Well, Zoom provides telephone stations throughout the world. The question is, how many minutes do they have? Welcome, Louis.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey.
Luis, Professor Luis Del Pino is in the house.
How you doing? How is our host?
Look what I have to share.
Ah, beautiful.
The long
discourses
of the Buddha.
There are the short discourses and the long discourses.
But before
Maha for the long ones and Kula for the small ones, the short ones.
Before we can read this, there's some Pali words that come up every now and then. So we have a table of how to pronounce the Pali letters. And it's interesting that Pali is similar to another the healing language, as Dominic calls it, the Sanskrit language, which is similar to Hindi that Srinivas Pondicherry knows. And there's the table for their alphabet, and it's in rows and columns, and the rows are the way you produce the sounds, and like the first row is like the ka sounds, but there's a ka, and there's a, what's it called? Unaspirated and aspirated. So the unaspirated ka is ka, and the unaspirated is ka. Like you
It's
hear
gonna
an
take
A
you longer
sound.
to. It's gonna take you longer to master that language than it would for you to master the teachings that you're trying to understand, which are the Dharma.
See, the first row says ka, and then ka,
So what?
and ga.
So, Jairo, what are you most interested in? The Sanskrit or Pali, or the teachings that you're trying to understand by going to the original language? What's more important?
The teachings.
There you go. So don't waste much time on those letters and how to pronounce this or that.
Yes.
There is a
It's good to know.
utility, though. There is a utility because I think it was Facebook who decided to, in their automated translation, you can look this up on the BBC. It was reported there, I think. Even they were translating the phrase "good morning" from Arabic into Hebrew as "attack them."
Oh wow!
And that got some people arrested.
So, yes, it's important. It's true. You're absolutely right. That not completely, but enough. You have to be able to go to the source, some words, and see their etymology and the original meaning, because culturally, a word that is used 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, in the cultural context of 2,500 years ago, in the country where you bring it from, you have to kind of equalize. It's like, what did they mean by tanha or dukkha or nirodha or stuff like that? So on the fundamental ideas of the teachings, it's good to know some of the words in their proper perspective from 2,500 years ago and to my perspective today, me trying to understand what they mean by the Four Noble Truths, the suffering, nirvana, yoga, moksha, and all those things that the Eastern philosophies throw at us. So I agree with you.
What do you think, Srinivas Pondicherry?
I think I agree with you, Jared, that understanding the written language sometimes helps, but a lot of times we sit in different countries and try to interpret what's going on in other countries and give our opinions. But only I've traveled a lot across the world with my job, and only when you live there do you really understand the people of today rather than people of the past who made certain decisions that hurt a lot of the world, right?
Oh yeah.
I lived in England, I lived in Belgium as well. When I lived in England, they are completely different people from the stories we heard about them when India was occupied and colonized. They just don't care.
Right.
These people are just like, I was so happy that they were so different from what I read about them. But before I went there, I was there for 9 months in Birmingham, England. Before that, I always felt that they were very, like, they were colonizers and they just were after money and other things. Of course, in those days they were. So living and understanding them, even if you stay there for a month, I think you still should stay in a small town, understand them better, and then but I agree with you to some extent. Understanding the language helps you think very differently from their perspective. For example, one of my colleagues, the professor's son, his father used to tell us, think about a problem in your native language, you will find the solution faster. Don't try to think about a solution when you're conversing in a foreign language. Your brain will not function as much as you want it to be. So
wow.
yeah,
Well,
that since
well,
then
you're bilingual.
Yeah, I used to think when I used to look at a problem, I used to think in my local language and I would talk about it openly. When people used to be confused, they would say, what are you saying? I'm like, no, I'm thinking about the solution in my native language. And it used to come faster to me, the solution, compared to when I was speaking to them in English.
Wow.
Well, what you're
Well-
saying is beautiful, because when you think of a culture,
Mhm.
you were talking about the colonization of India. So
Yeah.
you in your mind, you're looking at a culture, a whole culture, like
Yeah.
a wave of influence from abroad,
Mhm.
impersonal, no faces,
Right.
basically no names except for, the known names of the big politicians, et cetera, et cetera. But when you go to Belgium or England,
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're looking at guys in the street, it's like, dude, this guy is not a
Yes.
colonizer. This
Yeah.
this guy's just like
But
me. He speaks a different language.
We have the same situation with the even more recently with our World War II mentality in the United States.
Yep.
The United States seemed extremely obsessed with World War II. They have nothing but movies constantly coming out about World War II, something that happened in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And World War II is, almost 100 years ago now here. But people still in the United States, having been here and in some other countries too myself, I see that we are very narrow-minded here for the most part. The majority of Americans, we are like an island isolated from the rest of the world to a certain extent, but we're so big that we are so full of ourselves. And the majority of American people don't even have a grasp of the English language, the proper pronunciations, even the proper use of terminology. They can't even tell the difference between there and there. They don't understand their own language.
It's
And so to go back to the language that you say, or go back to the language of the people and so on. But in the United States, it's completely. I see that you have a group of educated, more educated people, and those people may have a grasp of the language and understand it. But then you have the majority of people in the United States who are quite illiterate, even if they think they're literate, even if they think they've gone through high school, they still have no ability to really understand their own language.
I'd like to make the case for parochialism or localism, because we sometimes would like to measure in terms of an international or global perspective, but who was that folk singer, the one who sung about the Big Muddy during the Vietnam conflict? He built a house up in New York off the Hudson and built a sailboat and sailed it up and down. He had a statement. He said, the most important place is right where you are. And that person who's right where they are, who speaks in the dialect that they speak in, and who knows maybe very little about international affairs, could tell you everything about every kind of tree and every kind of animal and every kind of local issue that the people there in that region are dealing in, probably to a level of depth that would astonish if only one were to ask.
Actually, I take issue with that. I think that's absolutely not true today. If you had a local person in the United States, they wouldn't know what their trees are. They wouldn't know they wouldn't know anything. They're just, it's not like that anymore. Maybe 50, 75, 100 years ago, perhaps you could say that. But today, people are completely, totally oblivious. Totally. I live in a rural area, and people here are totally, completely oblivious to nature, and it's pretty sad.
So is this
and
then
I think that's true in most of the United States now?
Is this a criticism of monoculture or the stealing of Aboriginal skill sets and history?
There's no such thing as Aboriginal skill sets in the United States. People are completely, totally dependent on grocery stores and their vehicles. They don't have any Aboriginal knowledge at all, and they don't care to. Nobody plants any food. People have many. Every yard is filled with grass. Nobody plants anything. Nobody grows anything. You have a few people, pockets here and there. People are interested in doing something, but for the majority, most people are living lives that are completely dependent on retail.
For the majority, yes.
I make a living,
Users and
managing people and businesses and situations and everything. I always ask this question: is there a solution? And if there is a solution, what is it, please? So to that problem, which is absolutely patent and clear. I mean, it's like a clear and present problem, not a clear
Which problem?
and present.
Which problem?
The people not knowing nature, not knowing how to lace their shoes, because they are absolutely dependent on the system. They have completely given away their own self esteem and self ability to live on their own as an individual within nature, within reality. What is there a solution to that? I ask, and I surmise that it's going to be very difficult. And how would we go about that?
There are too many people in the world. That is the problem. Too many people. So in order for government to control the number of people, we create these dependency systems, because otherwise the government will have there'll be complete chaos.
Right.
I disagree.
Is there a solution at the individual level? At the individual level, is there a solution?
People have to personally be interested, but nobody has the time. The governments keep us so busy because all we can do is
work,
do some kind of a job, just
survive.
just to survive, just to make the rent, just to make the mortgage.
We cannot
just to make
live
enough
for
money
surviving.
For food, pay for your car. That's all that it comes down